7 o'clock. We have a reception afterwards. What I understand is live music. It's more food and drink, and that's going to be down in here. Or?
Here. There is a reception after Mass, an ice cream social that is a fundraiser funded by private. The ice cream and toppings are free, but there's going to be a basket at the end of the table. Anything you throw in there will get split between Camp Luther and Community Lutheran Partners, and we thank those folks for helping to serve that ice cream social tonight with music provided by Gallo Glass, which is a local Celtic band, which includes Diane and our flute player from tonight's worship service. We would ask, if you would please, Bishop, that the folks who are involved with the service, the choir, the other worship leaders, be allowed to go through the line for supper first.
Okay.
And order up so that they have time to eat and get vested and get ready.
So if anybody says, I'm going to jump in front of you in line because I'm on the worship team or in the choir, please let them do that. And then ask for valid credentials and certification. And then tomorrow morning we reconvene at the Highlands, the conference center. The Highlands is up from the far end of the Cabela's. Okay, so all of tomorrow's meetings will be at the Highlands Event Center. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Victoria Flood, Director for Mission Support of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Victoria is relatively new to this position. It's been, what, 3 years. And in 3 years, Victoria has done amazing stuff in the world of communicating about mission support. It has been a sea change in the way things are approached. And one of the huge parts of it is the level of dialogue. We had a mission support symposium in the fall, and prior to that, Victoria's associate Nick came and had a personal meeting with me, and it's been great to have open dialogue. And Victoria also brings amazing skills in statistical analysis of depth that we've not seen heretofore. So, when the question came up, who should we have as a church-wide representative? And given the topic, I could think of no one better than Victoria Flood. So I'm going to turn it over to Victoria, where she can take it away. Oh, by the way, she's an avid motorcyclist, too. Not that that's important.
Thank you, Bishop. Well, I am really, really excited to be here, and I am really, really glad that I'm not the person keeping you from dinner after that description of dinner. So I'm glad that it's not happening right after this. We're going to kind of walk through a journey this afternoon. It's not going to be a super long journey because we have some other things to start at 4 o'clock. But I want to let you know I am really, really delighted to be here. And I was actually really surprised at lunch. I ate lunch with some of the Synod Council officers. And I was surprised to learn that some people might not be excited about coming to West Virginia. I was super excited to come here as soon as I heard that I was invited. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you for hosting me. It is a beautiful part of the country. And it's a part of the country I don't get to very often because, as Bishop Riegel said, my colleague Nick, who was here in the fall and did some meetings and things like that, we actually have the 65 Synod split up between the two of us. And I work primarily in the Midwest to the west. And so I don't get to the east very often, or the mid-Atlantic, or Appalachia, or any parts of this part of the country. So I was really excited to be here. So thank you. So I wanted to start out by just saying, if I were you, I might be a little skeptical of what I could possibly have to say this afternoon. I'm not from this synod. I'm not from this region of the country. I've been an employee of the ELCA National or Churchwide Organization for, I can't believe it, 18 years. And I'm a lifelong Lutheran from the upper Midwest. So imagine, while you've had a couple of minutes right now to wonder to yourselves what I might say, I've actually had months to think about it. And to tell you the truth, Bishop Riegel, I believe that much lead time is both a blessing and a curse. I have had time to come up with and disregard a large number of themes, stories, analogies, and even jokes to share. So, in a little over a half hour from now, will know whether I landed on anything that's useful to you, as individuals or as a collective. When it comes to the consideration of the questions that were outlined by Bishop Regal in his written report, there were 3 questions. There were many questions there, but you might remember 3 questions that were highlighted there. Do we want to be Lutheran? What are we willing to do to be Lutheran in Central Appalachia? And is the West Virginia, Western Maryland Synod our best option for moving forward without losing our rootedness in the Reformation? Not simple questions to answer, but important ones. So as I reflected on the reports in your assembly packet and on the purpose and focus for much of the discussion during your assembly, I found myself thinking mostly about roots and fruit. Roots. From where does your nourishment come? How are you as a synod fed? And then fruit. What fruit do you as a synod bear? How do you feed others with your fruit? So while roots and fruit will find their way into both my presentation today and tomorrow, admittedly, today's is going to focus more on roots, and tomorrow's is going to focus more on fruit. Please know that we will spend a lot of time together tomorrow celebrating all the ways your fruit makes a difference. All right. I am a firm believer that the way any of us hears a question, like the 3 questions that I just quoted from Bishop Regal's report, the way that any of us hears a question, assesses a situation, and develops a strategy for action is heavily shaped by the lens or lenses through which we look. So lenses are those filters through which we both physically look at and figuratively perceive the world around us. We all have lenses. Some lenses we hold in common. Some lenses challenge another's lenses, and some lenses work for only our set of physical or figurative eyes. So how many of you have either had or know somebody who has or had cataracts? Raise your hands. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I have had cataracts, and I have had surgery in both my eyes. And for any of you that aren't familiar with cataracts, briefly, I looked it up. It's a medical condition in which the lens of the eye becomes progressively opaque, resulting in blurred vision. So, I've had cataracts in both my eyes, and I've had surgery to remove these cataract lenses and put clear lenses in place. How many of you with the cataracts have gone through the surgery? All right, yes. So what worked best for me, and I don't know how many of you might have had this, we'll do a raise of hands again, is that I actually had 2 different lenses put in my eyes, 1 in each eye. And so I have what they call monovision. Do any of you who have had cataract surgery have monovision? All right, not quite as many. So monovision means that that I have 1 lens that focuses for close-up things, and I have 1 lens in the other eye that focuses for far-away things. Pretty cool, huh? The really cool thing is that my brain has figured out when to use the power in the close-up lens and when to use the power in the far-away lens, so that it allows me to look clearly at pretty much every object, both near and far, without needing to wear glasses. That's really cool, right? So mind you, as you think about this, there's like I said, we're on a journey, there's a purpose to this. It's not a merging of the 2 lenses. It's a constant, intentional, albeit subconscious determination that my brain is making about which lens is needed in a particular moment in order to clearly see the object in front of me. So this monovision, this set of 2 lenses that I use to help me physically see the objects in front of me, is similar to a set of 2 lenses that I think helps us to perceive, understand, and act on the economics of the world in which we live. So I'm going to call this first lens humanities economics. Through humanities economics, especially those of the United States in the 21st century, we learn that worth is determined by output. In general, broad-based strokes, more output equals more compensation or more expense, and less output equals less compensation or less expense. More output equals more worth. We also learn to prioritize bigger, better, stronger, and faster. We are to maximize this output through minimizing inefficiency. So inefficiency equals waste. And finally, we learn that resources are finite. If some is good, then more is better. We'd better make sure we have not only enough for today, but also enough for the future. So accumulation equals a better situation. All right, so are you following me on my humanities economics? All right, I am not an economics major, so any of you that are, I know I have super simplified all kinds of important concepts. I'm going to call the second lens God's economics. God's economics can look very different from humanities economics. We learn more about God's economics through reading God's Word. Take the parable of the laborers in the vineyard. Do you remember that one? It's in Matthew chapter 20, in case you want to look it up at some point. And in a nutshell, there's a landowner who hires laborers to work in his vineyard. He hires some laborers early in the morning. He hires some around 9 o'clock. He hires more around noon. He hires more laborers around 3, and finally hires some more laborers around 5. And do you remember what happens when evening comes? Yes, all right. So evening comes, wages are paid, and everybody is paid the usual daily wage. And the laborers who had worked the longest grumbled. And they said, these last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, and have equal to us who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat. So in God's economy, we learn that it is God that determines worth through grace. Worth cannot be earned by doing more. A second point, take the parable of the sower. All right, that is in Matthew chapter 13, in case you're following along there. And you remember how this one goes, right? The sower goes out to sow. As he sows, some seeds fall on the path, other seeds fall on rocky ground, other seeds fall among thorns, and other seeds fall on good soil. Right? Remember this one? Yes. All right, you're with me. If this sower had been concerned with maximizing productivity and eliminating inefficiency, then wouldn't he have made sure that all the seeds that were sown in the good soil? Yeah. So in God's economy, we learn to sow seeds everywhere, and that efficiency is not the primary goal. And finally, let's look back into the Old Testament, to the story of the Israelites collecting manna. The Lord commands, gather as much of it as each of you needs. And then we read that those who gathered much had nothing over, and those who gathered little had no shortage. But then Moses says to them, let no one leave any of it over until morning. And we read that some left part of it over until morning. And do you remember what happened? It rotted, yes. So the part that was left over until morning bred worms and became foul. Instead, morning by morning, they gathered the manna as much as each needed. In God's economy, we learn that enough is all that is needed. There's nothing to be gained by accumulating more. All right, so let's just review where we are so far. We have questions about roots and fruit. How is it that you as a synod are fed? And what is the fruit that you bear? And next we have a description of two possible lenses with which to observe, understand, and act upon the economics of the world in which we live. The first one emphasizes that output equals worth, inefficiency equals waste, and more is better. And the other lens, God's economics, through which we learn worth comes through grace, sowing seeds everywhere is more important than maximizing productivity, and enough is sufficient, which I realize is a little bit redundant, but in a way that redundancy seems important there. There's nothing gained by accumulating more. So keeping in mind the questions of roots and fruit, as well as these two lenses of economics, let's take a look at some synod statistics within the ELCA. By and large, these statistics that I'm going to share represent 2017 data. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is look at the number of congregations within a synod. The synod with the smallest number of congregations has 21 congregations in it. The synod, there are 65 synods in the ELCA, remember. The synod with the largest number of congregations currently has 265 congregations in it. Where do you fall as the West Virginia Synod? What I want you to do as I ask these questions is either point more to the right or more to the left. And I have to remember that, yes. So if you're all pointing this way, that's your left, correct? Okay. All right. And sure enough, sometimes these numbers are not exactly accurate, and I didn't have a chance. Is 60 what you have? 58 now? Okay. And again, this was from 2017, and sometimes it depends whether we're counting congregations under development and things like that. But by and large, you get the picture. All right. Percent of congregations worshiping 50 or fewer. So you take all of your 60, 59, 58 congregations in your synod. What percent of those congregations are worshiping 50 or fewer? Across the ELCA, the synod with the highest percent of congregations worshiping 50 or fewer is 73%. And the synod with the lowest percent is 5%. So there's a synod where just 5% of the congregations are worshiping 50 or fewer. Where does West Virginia, Western Maryland? You are actually the 73%. Yeah. The synod with 21 is the Slovak Zion Synod. Yes. And the next two smallest synods would be the Alaska Synod and the Caribbean Synod. Both of them have 30 to 33 congregations, depending on how you count them. Actually, there's Northern Texas, Northern Louisiana. No, not Northern Texas. Arkansas, Oklahoma has 54 congregations. But yes, you are definitely... Once you get past the 20s and the 30s, then this next group is kind of 50s and 60s and 70s, and that's where you are. Okay, so it could be argued that the further you are on the right-hand side of this page, the stronger the economic capacity that exists within a synod. And can you see how that could be? That if you have more congregations and your congregations are larger, on average, then the economic capacity within the synod is stronger. All right, that's what I'm getting at there. All right, we have a couple more of these to do. All right, congregation expenses as a percentage of total congregation regular giving. fancy, or kind of, it's not really a fancy way, it's kind of just a confused way of saying, if it's over 100%, that means that the congregation's expenses are actually more than the regular offerings that come in. Now, congregations can make this up through other sources of income, designated funds, restricted funds, special giving, things like that. But just looking at congregation expenses and congregation regular income through offerings. So the synod that has the most imbalance actually has an imbalance of 223%. That means that their congregation expenses are more than twice what their congregation's income is as a whole in that synod. There is no other synod that is over 200%. So other synods, the next highest numbers are about 170 some percent, 150 some percent, and then we get all the way down to 83.5%. And this would mean that income actually exceeds the congregation's expenses. All right? Where do you think you fall? A little bit more diversity of opinion here.
Are you asking about the synod or individual?
This is a synod statistic, so it's the synod as a whole. Yeah. So as a whole, all of your congregations, if you take all of the expenses of your congregations and all of the regular income and compare it, expenses are a little bit higher than the income. It's 113, so by 13% basically. All right? Yes. Yes. Total mission support dollars shared with the synod. And this isn't percentages. This is just straight up total dollars. Okay? Because at some point, as we think about budgets and dollars, at some point, there is a minimum dollar amount that seems to be needed in order to do certain things, right? So, looking at what synods have to work with. The synod with the smallest amount of mission support received from their congregations is $49,338. Yes, that is the Slovak Zion Synod, and the next one that's past that is in the 300,000s. So it is a little bit of an outlier, okay? And again, it's got the smallest number of congregations, it's got the smallest number of, just in your imaginations, how much do you think comes in mission support into the largest synod that has this? Is it over $1 million? Is it over $2 million? Is it over $3 million? $3.3 million. All right, where do you all lie? Yeah, okay. $416,763. All right. What? In 2017, yes, right. Okay, so again, on this, looking at this, the further to the right that you go, one could argue the stronger economic capacity that you have as a synod. There's one more of these. Are you ready? For the last set of statistics, we have percentages. So the average mission support percentage share from congregations. All right? So as a congregation, you receive your regular offerings, and then you share mission support dollars with the synod. That's the unrestricted dollars you share with the synod. Sometimes, I don't know, do you call it, what else do you call it here besides mission support? Benevolence. Sometimes benevolence is the word. It's the undesignated dollars you share mission support. The average in the ELCA right now is 5.5%. So across all the congregations in the ELCA, congregations share 5.5%. What that means is that for every dollar they would receive, they would share 5.5 cents of that on to the synod. So, the synod with with the lowest percent being shared from their congregations is 3.2%. Okay? The synod with the highest percent in 2017, and these do vary from year to year, was 12%. Where do you fall as a synod? All right. Oops, I hit the wrong thing. I have a light. Okay. 9.8%, roughly 10%. And that was second. So there was nothing between 9.8% and 12%. Okay, so that was, and I think sometimes this synod actually runs number one. It depends. So, what a testament to the strength of commitment to relationship with the wider church through your synod. That on average, and that means if the average is 9.8%, not every congregation is at 9.8%. Some have to be higher than that in order to make up for some that aren't able to do that, right? Okay, the other number that I want to share is the average benevolence. And so now I'm going to use the word benevolence, meaning all other kinds of giving beyond the congregation that is not mission support. Okay, so it takes out mission support. But there's all kinds of other ways that congregations give. Your congregation might give directly to Camp Luther. That would be counted in this number here. Okay, so or you might give to campus ministry directly, or you might give somewhere else. You might give to World Hunger directly, something like that. So, the synod with the smallest percentage, the lowest percentage of what congregations are sharing is 3.7%. The synod with the highest percentage is 14.2%. Where do you think you fall? So, this is an interesting one because 2017 numbers show 9.9% and 2016 numbers show 6.1%. So I don't know if there was a really special thing that happened in 2017 or a special giving appeal, no, or something.
A congregation sold their building, so
Okay,
we got
and
a
then-
lump sum gift.
Lump sum, okay, congregation sold its building and gave a lump sum gift. So that kind of accounts for, so you would be more in the middle, kind of as you said, maybe in other years. In 2017 though, look at that in terms of really close. So then you're talking about, in a congregation, for every dollar, and again this would be the averages, but for every dollar, 10 cents is going for direct mission support for the wider church through the synod, and then on to the churchwide. Some of that goes on to churchwide. And on top of that, another 6 cents or 10 cents, depending which year it was, went for other ministries, all kinds of other direct partner giving as well. And keep in mind, at the same time, on the whole, congregations were sharing, congregations had expenses that were slightly higher than income, right? All right. Again, now what this points to, this is the one slide where your numbers, your percentages are actually a little bit closer to the right-hand side. Yes? Which is an indicator of economic capacity. Okay? It's one indicator. We looked at those other ones, you have to put that all together and see, think about, so on these three slides, where you were on the left, where you were on the right. All right. So, this next slide, this last slide about kind of a statistical thing. This slide is a map. This actually is very reflective of what the man, and I am horrible with names. Who was just up here? Who? Yes, who? Dan. Okay. Dan was just up here talking about some of the socioeconomic conditions within West Virginia. And so this is West Virginia, Western Maryland Synod. And this is projected population changes. That's the part that I want you to see. Anything that is colored in green shows where there's a projection between 2018 and 2023 to have an increase in population. Anything that is pinkish reddish, and the darker means the stronger that is, either as a decrease or the stronger the green, the darker the green, the stronger the increase. So, what do you see on this map? Not a lot of green, right? And I think it corresponds to some of the places where you said growth was happening versus places where you said that wages were decreasing versus wages increasing, and then also the number of people. Yeah, so it's a very good kind of a... The thing about this is, though, and now I want to get back to the lenses really quickly. The thing about this is that there isn't just one story up here. If you look with only one particular lens, you're going to see all the red up there. And if you look with only one other particular lens, you might only see the green up there. There are both colors up there, not in equal proportions. But what does